What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to My Social Life. This is the podcast where you can hear the real stories behind the people on social media. I'm your host, Jacob Kelly. As always, today's podcast is powered by Trufan. And before we get into today's conversation with Farokh Sarmad, there's a couple things that we need to go over first. Number one, if you enjoyed today's podcast, please consider leaving a rating and a review. The more positive ratings and reviews we get, the more it helps new people find the show. And it really helps to grow the community that we're developing here. And if you're one of those people that have recently found the podcast, welcome. I'm very excited to have you here. Make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for future episodes. I put out brand new interviews every single Monday and brand new takeaways episodes, which is an audio exclusive where I sit down and break down the most recent podcast episode of the week every single Thursday. And last but not least, if you enjoyed today's podcast, be sure to share it to your Instagram story. Tag myself at the Jacob Kelly and Farokh at Farokh, and I'll feature you on my account and send you a message as well. And now, without further ado, I present to you my conversation with Mr. Goodlife himself, Farokh Sarmad. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to My Social Life. This is the podcast where you can hear the real stories behind the people on social media. I am your host, Jacob Kelly. As always, today's podcast is powered by Trufan, and today we are joined by Farokh Sarmad. And Farokh is the owner and founder of Goodlife, an Instagram account and business with 1.6 million followers on Instagram. He's also spent a ton of time in 2020 growing his personal Instagram to 242,000. You can find him there at Farokh. I'll make sure everything's linked in the show notes down below. But I'm very excited to have him here on the podcast today. Farokh, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Jacob. How you doing? Thank you very much for having me on.
My pleasure, man. I'm excited to have you here. So where I want to start today, I want to go all the way back to the beginning. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you were born in Paris and grew up in Montreal, right?
Yep. I was born in Paris and I lived there for about 8 years and then mostly raised in Montreal, Canada.
And so talk to me about life growing up in Montreal. I know you were very into sports, and as far as I'm aware, you wanted to be the Persian Tiger Woods growing up, right?
Yep. I was always growing in Montreal is awesome. You know, it's a very good place for children. It's safe. It's nice. Even though the winters are long, but, you know, good schools, everything. So I'm very grateful and blessed for that. So growing up in Montreal was awesome. And very into sports. Played golf until I was, 8, 9 years old. My dream back then was to be the Persian Tiger Woods. But then went on to squash full-time, 6 days a week. I was part of the Quebec team. I was top 20. My best was top 20 in Canada. 5-time Quebec champion. So that was really my main sport.
I'm curious. So why squash? Why'd you gravitate there? Was it just something you were naturally good at and that's why you pursued it? Or
like my family played squash as a kid. So I naturally just went into squash and then I was just good at it.
And what are some lessons sports taught you? I'm always curious with former athletes, what lessons they picked up playing sports.
Discipline.
Can you kind of go into that a little bit more?
You know, you got to show up and you got to practice in order to get good at something. And if you're not good at it, you got to go and practice 100,000 more times until you're good at it. And if you want to win, you got to practice. So this is what it teaches you. Discipline. You know, you got to show up every day and you got to train or else you're not going to get better.
Mm-hmm. I have another quote here written down from you about sports. And you said, to learn how to win, you have to learn how to lose. And sports taught you how to lose. Why is losing such an important thing you have to learn how to do?
Because most people will lose once and then not know how to get back up and come back from it. But the difference is when you're in sports, let's say you lose, you got to learn how to get back from it, be a good loser in a way, learn from it, be a good learner, and then go and know where you failed at, you know, what your flaws are and to improve them. So this is a good winner knows how to lose, meaning you're not going to go be a bad sportsman, not shake a hand and not go train on yourself. A good loser shakes hand, smiles, gets off the court, goes and practices and come back stronger.
Mm-hmm. And as far as I'm aware, you've always been entrepreneurial. Even as early as 14, you used to throw all-age parties for students around Montreal. Were there any other early entrepreneurial ventures that you were interested in as a kid growing up?
I just sold whatever was in front of me. Like, I remember, like, whether it was garage sales or, like, electronics or my uncle's treadmill. And, like, literally I would just buy and sell things just so I could make a buck, you know?
When you say you sold your uncle's treadmill, does that mean like he was getting rid of it and you sold it, or you sold it and had to tell him after that you sold it?
No, he was getting rid of it. I put on Kijiji and that's it. I got rid of it. Everything, used TVs, used phones. I was just trying to make a buck, you know?
Mm-hmm. And your first foray kind of into the social space, was that your high school's meme page that you used to run?
Yes. So, one of them, like I got onto Facebook when I was like 11, 12 years old. And then at some point I started like in the Twitter page for my city called Montreal Problems. Remember the whole problems thing started popping up, and the Montreal Problems got a 10,000 followers quick. And then yeah, my high school's meme page where I would just make fun of like not make fun, but like memes about the school. But it's anonymous. That was really like my first like touched into social, but I was really always in tune with it. So yeah, I could say that this is my first like success into it because like every single student to school followed it, even the teachers.
That's hilarious. And with Montreal Problems, did you run the Instagram account Montreal Problems as well?
No, it was just yeah, well at some point it was an Instagram account, but it was mostly Twitter because that like it was popping on Twitter back then.
Yeah. And so I feel like Laval was like your main target with Montreal Problems. What is it about Laval that where they were so easy to make fun of?
We always had this thing about Laval with Montreal. I don't even know why. It's just like there's Montreal and there's Laval, and we always made fun of Laval. It's like kind of like the suburb jokes in the USA. They had and also their phone number, like the first three digits were the difference. Us is like 514, and there was 450. So it's like we never go to 450. It was always like a thing. It was just taunting. I don't even know where it comes from. Yeah, I just know the trends.
Yeah, no, I feel you. And then even though you were running like your school's meme account, you were also the student council president, right?
Yeah. I was president of my class pres. Yeah, and I was always on the student councils, this and that. I was just always involved.
And during my whole research process, like I didn't hear you talk too much about high schools. Like, how was your high school experience? And did anything within high school kind of shape the person you are today?
Um, I mean, my school experience was awesome. I always liked going to school. I was not a bad student. Uh, I always worked smart, found a way around things. You know, homework and assignments and exams. And I was always fascinated and I had a lot of passion for certain subjects, like history, geography, and all those things. So it's something that really always, it always like excited me, right? But yeah, my high school experience was awesome. There's nothing to say, that good or bad. I don't know if it shaped me who I am today, between you and I, but it definitely was like a good experience for me.
And then when you graduated, you ended up going to school to become a lawyer. Did you take any time off between school or did you go straight into being a lawyer?
I went straight into law school, 17 years old.
Wow.
I got accepted. I got straight into law school, and but the thing is, I was trying to build my business at the same time, right? So I never finished, but yeah, I went straight into it.
And why did you want to become a lawyer at that time?
It was always a passion of mine. I love the law, and I still do. I love reading my own contracts, writing them. I read my NDAs, my non-competes. This is like when it comes to the part of closing a client, like I love reading all the paperwork and doing it myself. Of course, like with the help of my attorneys, but like I have like certain models and templates now. But it's just something that always fascinated me, like because when you think about it, and it's a obvious, law is the root of society, right? Everything that happens, everything's a contract, right? Especially in business, but even if you walk outside, something happens to you. Now what? Everything. There's a lot of contractual things. We're regulated by laws, by this, by that. So it's good to understand them. So I always had a passion for that.
hmm And so during your time in law school, you worked for a really influential lawyer in Montreal for a year and a half. Kind of a two-pronged question based on that. What did you learn working for such an influential lawyer like that for a year and a half? And then ultimately, what was it that led to you deciding that that wasn't the life you wanted to lead?
Well, what I learned for working for a lawyer like that was really like the work ethic. Like, wow, like it's just like there's no excuses, and you got to perform at a very high level if you want to be the best. There's no time for excuses, no time for mistakes. Even like the tiniest mistakes can cost your client a lot of money, right? So it's like you had no choice. So that's really what it taught me, really, about that discipline again, just like sports did, right? But more in like within the workspace. You got to show up at a certain time in the morning. You got to you have your timeline, you have deliverables. It's very, very important for me. But what the story where like I realized this was not for me is and it's a funny, you're gonna think it's a quote, but it's not. I just came up with it. I always say it's I realized I didn't want to be an attorney when I wanted to be the client. So we had this like very wealthy client come in once, very successful, and he was dressed like the way I like to dress, and he was cool, and my attorney was very successful. So technically, I was supposed to aspire to be him, right? Because usually when you work somewhere, you aspire to be your boss, right? And then he walked in, walked out, And then my boss back then was like, well, this guy makes $120 million revenue a year. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, this is what I want to do. You know, I don't want to do the 80 hours, 100 hours, like working for someone, being the attorney, doing this, doing that. And I was looking at the race to the top, and it was just so long and dreading, and it was just not for me. And I was like, I just want to build a business. And the entire time I was just thinking about how I want to build a business. And that's when I realized like I'm not in the right field. I love the law. I love being around lawyers. I love doing my paperwork, but I don't want to be the lawyer. It's just, that's not what I want to do.
And you mentioned how that client, the gentleman that was making $120 million in revenue a year, he was dressed really well the way you like to dress. So when did luxury and the finer things in life really start to captivate you?
I was always a car nut. Like I was always into cars since I'm a young kid, whether it was Hot Wheels, whether it was toy cars, whether it was spotting a car in the street. I was always super into it. And always had a passion for fine craftsmanship, so which led me to starting my blog in 2011 called Mr. Goodlife on Tumblr, which then rebranded a couple of years later on Instagram to just Goodlife. But I always had this passion for fine craftsmanship. I always liked fashion. I always liked these little things, right? And this is really like I always had this appetite for it.
And that account, Mr. Goodlife on Tumblr, you started that on a trip to France and Prague, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Well, actually, no. What happened? So I'll tell you about the trip. What happened with the trip? But no, I started. So then I worked for a clothing store when I was 16. Was my first real job, right? The lawyer I worked for when I was 18, but my first real job was working at a clothing store, right? And we were selling like nice clothing. I always liked fashion, so that's where I really learned about sales, but also high fashion, right? So I was there and I'm like, damn, I would like to blog about these things. And I just like luxury and I like cars, work, and I just talk about all of this. So I found out about Tumblr. So I started a blog there and I started kind of like posting things that I liked. This is where I started. But see, 2 years in, I only had about what? That was 2012, 13. I forgot. I only had about 1,000 followers, right? So me, I was like, wow, I'm Tumblr famous. I have 1,000 followers. And then one day I remember I'm like, I posted on my Tumblr, I said, going to Paris and Prague, can't wait to share photos with you. And I got one like. And I was like, damn, like, it's not even the like thing, because I never cared about like, and I still really don't, which is funny. And it's just like, I wish I could just reach more people. You know, it's like, I have a voice. I think I'm an interesting person. I'm going to lead an interesting life and I have something to say. Why can't I have more followers? So I went on that trip. And I came back from it and I was like, you know what? Screw it. Right now I'm going to push. So within that year, 2013 to 14, I went from 1,000 to 100,000 followers in a year. And I was one of the biggest luxury bloggers on Tumblr. It was that trip to Prague and Paris that was like, shit, like I need to like amp it up. You know, I need to go.
Got you. And so what are some of those ways that you amped it up? Like, how did you go from 1 to 100K in a year?
I mean, it's I just started curating good content. So I always had this eye for content, and I was a self-taught Photoshop editor. So I downloaded Photoshop one day and I just taught myself how to edit. And I started like editing like really cool photos. Like there was always a like good lifestyle. Like if you go on my Instagram page and my Tumblr, which still exists, it's like that faded dark luxury and the way we showcase things is just it just popped. You know, I don't know how to explain it to you over the phone like that on a podcast, but it's just like I had the eye for good content, and it was content. There's no other secret. I was just pumping content out like crazy. I was editing all day long. I had school all day, so I would edit all night long. We were posting a couple times a day, a week. I was just going nonstop, just pumping out content, and eventually I started getting viral. You know, it was called reblogs on Tumblr, right? It's kind of like a retweet. And just started getting a bunch of likes and reblogs, and then started collaborating. So I found other people that were kind of doing the same thing or aspiring to the same thing. We just started sharing each other's content. You know, nothing new, but I said that we did it for real. We didn't just speak about it, and I just exploded like that.
And your content was so good that people ended up stealing it and posting it on Instagram. And that was kind of the catalyst that made you jump platforms, right? Was people stealing your content?
Well, the thing is, like, it was so big and all over the place. And then at that stage, I was starting to you know, I was always on Instagram since 2012, but I never really took it seriously. And then I started seeing like luxury pages, and back then, like a big luxury page was like 10, 15,000 followers, right? And like, I was like playing around Instagram, and I'm like, wait, like not only it's like the same picture, it's literally my edit. And you know how I knew that is because I would turn Lamborghinis that were yellow, I would make them black and then remove the license plate and this and that. Like I knew it was mine, right? It wasn't my photo, but it was my edit. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I just like do what I'm doing on Tumblr, take it to this app, which is interesting and is starting to blow up called Instagram, and start doing it there. So instead of being mad at all these pages and like, oh, you're taking my photo because it's not mine. I don't own it. I'd be like, hey, why don't I edit for you content for your page, and in exchange you shout me out. And that's what happened. And I just started doing that on Instagram. I left Tumblr. I never logged back into this day.
Why did you decide to log out of Tumblr and never go back? Like, how did you walk away from 100,000 followers at that time?
Because the picture was so big for me. I was like, I'm going to build an Instagram empire of millions of followers. I knew, I don't know how to explain. I knew I was going to explode there. I knew it. I knew it. And I was dedicated. And I was like, this platform is going to explode because it's so good. People are already hooked onto Instagram. You know, it was the ground. I mean, it's so cool. Like I knew like it's photos, it's Tumblr was dying also. You know, I saw like a decrease, right? So I was like, let's go build an IG. It's going to be the biggest. It was maybe 100 million people like on day on it, maybe less. And I was like, I know this is going to be the one. And I just went full force.
Did you post it all on Tumblr that you were moving over to Instagram? Like, no, you didn't.
No, one post.
And was it during the time when you switched from Tumblr to Instagram where you sat down at your friend's house and kind of wrote down all of your goals for Mr. Goodlife at that time? And then I kind of during that transition?
Yeah. November 2014. I said, I'm out. I logged out of Tumblr. Even though it's funny, my Tumblr friends thought I was dead. You know, the group were saying like, and then 6 months later, they see me with 100 followers on Instagram. I'm like, oh shit, this is where you are. I'm like, yeah, come in. You know, that's what happened to them grow on Instagram. But yeah, I just quit, and I was just like, this is it.
Do you remember what some of those goals you wrote down were on that piece of paper in November 2014?
3 goals. I was like, I'm going to start a company called Mr. Goodlife, which now my company is called Goodlife Media and Communications. And I was like, I'm going to start a page, and I'm going to grow my Instagram, and then I was like, once I hit like 25, 50,000 followers, I'm going to sell ads on it. And the second goal was to start making logos for other influencers, right? Because I had my friend making logos. So I was like, I'll sell the logos for like $25, $50 a pop, right? For like Instagram pages. And the third part I forgot was like, there was 3 things. It was editing photos for others. So it was getting paid to edit photos for others. So that was the 3 goals of mine. And then as I kept growing, they just evolved, right?
And so when you jumped onto Instagram, your first 3 months was 12 to 16-hour days just studying and learning the platform, which ties back into the thing you talked about with sports, with discipline. So talk to me about how important it was to dedicate pretty much all day, every day for 3 months to Instagram. Like how important was that first 3 months to your success?
It was the most important because I don't like getting involved into things full time if I can't control them. Control is a notion for me that's very important, right? I like to be in control of everything I do in order to really do them at my best, right? And I think most people should learn to do that, right? Instead of jumping and half-assing shit, pardon my French, you should go and understand and study the platform and the network or whatever you're trying to do in the business you're trying to grow in order to really like be the best at it. So for 3 months, literally from November to January, I was all day, every day on Instagram. But I would get lost. You know, I would click on a page, at least to another page, to this page, this person, to this like, to this follow, to this and that, right? And then we had Kick Messenger groups, and I would create this large groups of people. Like now, the mainstream media called it pods, but it didn't exist back then. We were the first people to create those groups, and would classify them by size, by niche, by everything. And it's just like that's what allowed me to do connect with people. It was so important because I really understood how the game worked in the back end. The stuff that people maybe like you or the people who are listening, they don't see it. What you don't know is that we have a whole back end and group chats with 1,000 people, and we talk to each other about everything, how to grow, what to do, what to post, collaborate, send shout outs to each other, traffic, this, that. You know, that's what was important for me, is really understand and control the game so that I can go and like be the best at it.
I have a quote written down here as well of you saying that a lot of people think they know how to use social media, but they don't. Like that, to your point, I bet you a lot of people wouldn't know all of the back end that goes into Instagram and growing, especially at that point in time when it was so new.
Exactly. People think it's just you post a photo and boom, paf, you have 1,000 followers. It doesn't work like that. Especially back then. Like you needed a group, you needed the people to push each other. It's power is in the numbers always, you know? it's just they think they know how it works. A lot of people and companies, they think you can just tell your client to create good content to the post and they'll magically grow, but it doesn't work like that. It's just so much to it. That's why we call it growth hacking, right?
Exactly. And so these were 12 to 16-hour days, but this wasn't like once a week. This was all day, every day, 3 months. How important is consistency on social media?
It's the most important. But it's just like everything, right, Jacob? Like, it's like everything you do, right? If you want to be good at it, you got to be consistent with it, right? So, the word consistency is people love to toss the word around. So that's why I try to toss it around as least as possible. I try not to tell people, hey, try to be consistent. Consistency is not like 1 week. Consistency is like months, years. Keep in mind, Jacob, I had Tumblr for 3 years without making $1. And then I had to study Instagram for 4 months without making $1. So I'm 3 years and a half into consistency here. That's what people don't understand. Like, it took so much. And I didn't stop just because I had 100 followers. I was savage. I would just keep going. I just kept going.
Yeah. And I have some stats written down here from your early days on Instagram. 10K in 1 month, 25 in 2 months, and then 100K by month 5, I believe. So on top of, you mentioned earlier that one of the big ways you used to grow is you used to work with bigger accounts and you'd create graphics for them for a shout out. Were they paying you at all, or were you doing it just straight up for a shout out?
Straight up. I was like, hey, like all those quote pages, like today you see quote pages. We were the first people to ever make quote pages. Like my friend Jason Stone from Mail and Mentor, he had 30,000 followers. Now he has 6.5 million. I went to him, I made him a logo. He gave me a couple shout outs and I started making his quotes in exchange of shout outs. I wasn't looking to get paid. I was looking to grow. Because again, I was focused on the bigger picture. So much content for them. And then you know what I would do? I was the one who created all these groups and shout out groups and I was running them. So it's not just like doing homework. I was making sure that people were growing each other. I was lining up shout outs for myself. I would exchange like 6, 7, 8 shout outs per day, like 12, 2, 4, 6, 8 p.m. Like in my school, that I would go to school. I would just like try to time it between lunches, breaks. Like it was just like I was always on top of it.
And were you constantly engaging with your audience even back then? That's something that you're known for now, but even back then, 2014, was that something you were doing?
Always. But there was no DMs, huh? Keep in mind, back then, DMs didn't exist.
I forgot about that. That's crazy. So it was all just comments?
It makes me sound old, eh? But yeah. Comment. You couldn't reply to comments either, Jacob.
Really?
The comment reply is a very recent tool, bro. Very recent.
Damn. I forgot how much has changed. That's crazy. I just forget sometimes how many different things have changed over the years of Instagram. That's wild. And I'm curious, with the shift over from Mr. Goodlife to just @Goodlife, has Goodlife Fitness ever approached you, tried to buy the handle off you or anything like that?
No, but every single day someone tags me and says, oh, you're not a gym. I'm like, do I look like a gym?
That's hilarious. And I have a specific date written down here. I'm curious if you remember what this date was. January 16th, 2015.
Yeah, it's the first $1 I made on Instagram. I would never forget it.
I believe that was close to the first time you ever bought a page as well, right?
Yeah. It's the first time I was smart. I already had 25,000 followers on Goodlife. I'm like, I'm Mr. Goodlife by now. I'm like, I'm not going to waste my page by posting ads for cheap watches. I'm like, I'm not posting a single ad until I hit 500,000. So what I did is I found this guy in Switzerland. Go figure. January 15, he had a page, had 100-something thousand followers. So keep in mind, bro, January 15, 2015, having 100K followers was massive. It's like having 10 million today. Okay? Because today, even a million is like whatever to us in the game. And I don't mean that arrogantly. I'm just talking from a standpoint, like in the game we're in, underground. And so I send money to Switzerland to some random guy, PayPal friends and family. I could have lost it all. Turns out the page worked. Next thing you know, I cold emailed every company on Instagram and they bid. I started sending shouts. And then I made $1 every single day of 2015. I pulled up my PayPal transactions just for my accounting at the end of the year. There was not a single day a transaction that had come through.
Wow.
Yeah, the next day, I didn't stop. Boom, right into it.
Yeah, and you ended up having, did you have up to 10 at one point, or was there more than that?
Oh, yeah. I went from 0 to 4 million followers in 2015 and from 4 to 10 million followers in 2016. So literally, what I did is, let's say I made my first 4K, I bought a page. And then I made 10K, I bought another page. Like I kept growing, buying pages, reinvesting mine. And then I started more pages that I grew myself.
And so what's the most you ever spent on a page? If you're able to share that.
I don't know.
No?
No.
I was just curious. That's fair. And so, sorry, go ahead.
A lot of money.
Fair.
I don't even know. But keep in mind, bro, once I spent $8 on the page and all I had was $8,000. That's all I had for my name.
Talk to me about taking that risk then. Because to some people, that's a risk they're not comfortable with. So how are you comfortable enough to do that?
Man, I believed in myself. I was comfortable because I knew, I knew, I don't know how to explain it to you, because actually every time I get asked the same question, like, how are you so, like, I'm like, I just knew, Jacob. I just knew. I don't know what. Like, I can't explain. Like, I'm not a psychic either. I'm not a genius. I'm a regular kid with $1 and a dream, you know? Sounds like a movie. Fuck, like, it's exactly what it was. Like, I just had a dream. I had a little bit of money and I knew it was going to work. And it had to work because I had I couldn't do anything else, bro. I had to make money. I had no choice. I was in a position where I had to eat. And also I knew what I was doing was going to work.
Mm-hmm. And so ultimately, like you said, like it did work. You grew the biggest luxury kind of company. You had the biggest pages in the luxury niche on Instagram. I've got some of them written down here. Some of the old accounts: Ferrari.automobile, Dirty Feelings, Drunken Love Official, _upscale_lifestyle, Luxury_advisor, Gentleman's_luxury, MrsGoodlife.co.
Let's go. You did your research, Jacob. Holy shit. It's a throwback.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. But I'm curious. So with having like all of these accounts, speaking of features Instagram didn't have, they wouldn't have had the multi-account login at that time. So how much of a struggle was it going in and out between all these accounts?
Well, people today ask me why I wear a cast every now and then. Is because I have carpal tunnel, and we found a kyst in my right wrist, which is a ball in my wrist, which was caused from me using my phone too much. But what happened is back then I only have an iPhone 5, cracked screen, no money to buy a new one, and I had all these pages. And I had 10 pages posting 6 times a day myself on the pages. So 60 posts a day with logging in and out of each page every single time for every post. That's what it was. That was the grind. But this was the work that nobody else was willing to put.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That's how you get what nobody else wants, right? By doing the work no one else wants to do.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. And I had the notes. Like I was so organized. And this is also where I practiced my brain because I didn't use calendars. It was all in my head. I was like, oh, I have to post this ad then, this ad then. So I really trained my brain to just remember. Like it was almost like I had become a robot.
And had you dropped out at this point, right? When you ended up having all these accounts? No, wow.
Hell no. I even went to Italy on a student exchange to the oldest law school in history, Università di Bologna. And I kept studying law for 4.5 years, bro. I only dropped out. Or I don't like calling it dropout because I don't consider myself a dropout because I have 1 semester left and I'm going to go and finish it. But I realized I didn't want to do it and I was making quite a bit of money. Well, a lot for some people, I guess. And I really realized like there was this one day I made a sale of whatever. I flipped something. And while I was in class, I received a $23,000 wire. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing here? Because I remember during lunch break, all these students were talking, oh, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know if I'm going to be successful. And I'm like, what am I doing here? I already have a plan. I have a business model. I've already made like quite a bit of money in my first 3 months has been in business. And I'm like, what am I doing here? And after I went to Italy in Europe, I never went to class once. I was traveling around Europe because of Goodlife, right? I was invited to all the car rallies, right? I was in Monaco, Turin, Rome, Paris. I was all over the place. And I came back and I was like, that's it, man. I'm not going back. I have to focus on my business. I have to scale. This is 2017. I was in school from 2012 to 2017, but while I was building my business.
I'm curious what your opinion is of the excuse, I don't have enough time, because law school isn't easy. It takes a lot of work. And while in law school, you were still finding the time to post 60 times a day. So what do you say to someone when they say they don't have enough time?
I don't listen to it. They can go say that to someone else. I do not entertain the I don't have enough time conversation because you can make time for it. You know, I understand certain things are draining. I understand that sometimes, law school's tough, med school, all these things. So I'm not saying there's no excuses. Like I'm not one of these people, right? But if it's something that you care for and that's very important to you and that you believe in, you're going to make time for it no matter what, bro. There's absolutely zero excuse for I don't have time for this. Say that you don't want to make time for it or that you can't make time for it, it's okay. But if it's something that you want to pursue long term, it's 100% you'll make time. I don't even entertain it.
With having that many accounts, I'm sure there's people coming at you from every angle. Like, have you ever been hacked or have been scammed when doing this business?
I am the Floyd Mayweather of Instagram. I'm 22-0. I was hacked 22 times and I got my accounts back 22 times. Hell yeah. I got hacked so many times, bro. I had people from Iraq brute force into my love page once, steal my username. I was 100,000 followers. I still got it back. I had a kid in Florida. He reverse engineered my account manager into believing he was me. He impersonated me. He took 5 million followers from us. He sim hacked my partner back in the days, took 5 million followers over time. I got all the accounts back. I always managed to get my accounts back. I had people, someone once, PayPal charged me back 27 grand, managed to get that back. I've never lost a PayPal. I'm knocking on wood as I speak. Never lost a PayPal claim and never lost an account hack. But yes, the answer is yes. People try to come at you every single day when you own a big page, especially back then.
That's wild. And that's just so impressive. 22-0. I love it.
22-0, baby.
With the clients that you're working with and selling advertising for, obviously with the amount of accounts you have, I believe in 2016, you were getting 100 million impressions a week on Instagram. So you can clearly get the attention to your clients that come to work with you. But how do you vet the people you work with? Because you can get them attention, but whether that they put together a good page or a good product on the other side is something you can't control. So are you kind of vetting the accounts you were working with at that time, or were you just taking on everyone?
I 100% select my clients, especially right now more than ever. I'm in the position to pick who I work with. I decide if I want to work with a client or not. It's very important to me because if I don't believe in the brand, first of all, I'm not going to do good work. And second of all, if I don't like the client, how am I going to even be able to work with them? So I'm in a position today, thankfully, to be able to select the people and I vet them. What happens if I grow someone and they end up being a scammer or a bad person or they are affecting the world? I'll feel like an asshole. And I don't want to feel like an asshole. You know, I'm not in a position where I need the money so bad that I'm going to take everyone on, you know?
And for context for the audience, how old are you at this point in time when you're kind of really just getting started?
I was, when did I start? 2014. So I was like 19, 20-ish.
I have a quote of yours. I'd love if you could kind of dive into a little bit more for me. And that quote is, "A baby shark is still a fucking shark." Can you explain that quote to me, please?
That was my quote for the longest time. When I went on Andy Frisella's podcast, and he was like, "What do you have to say about all the people who are looking at you?" And like, "Yeah, Farokh, but you're like 21, you're young." And I said, "Listen, they can say what they want, but a baby shark is still a fucking shark." And I went by the name of Baby Shark for the last 4 years until I stopped it a year ago. But what I can say about that quote is just because, now it's a thing that there's social media moguls, influencers, all these young billionaires. It's a thing. We get it, right? People look at young people different. But back in the days, like even a couple of years ago, they looked at you like, "What are you? Go back to school, you know?" But I wanted them to understand it's not because I'm 20 years old that I'm not going to get the work done with good ethic and I'm not a killer, that I'm not a shark. Because I might not be a shark, but I'm a baby shark. So I'm still going to get it done. I'm still a hustler. And I wanted people to understand that. I always had it in me. Like I could never relate to people my age, Jacob. I was having this conversation with my partner this morning. I'm like, I could never just sit with other people my age at 18, 19, 20 and I could never just relate. I always had to be in a room with 30, 40, 50-year-olds and then I would feel comfortable, So that's what it was, really. I was always like that baby shark.
And then talking about that experience on Andy Frisella's podcast, he was one of your clients. And then you flew out to St. Louis for his podcast. And I've heard you say that appearance put you on the map. So can you kind of tell me a little bit more about it?
Yeah, he was back then. Andy Frisella was just starting his personal brand. 2015, he was buying shout outs from a lot of people, and I was one of his vendors. It's not like he was my client exclusively. I was one of his vendors. So because I had a large network, right? So I was selling him shout outs and him and his wife would hop on my lives, and because I've been doing personal branding for 5 years now on my own. And they loved me. Like he loved what I was, because Andy Frisella, by the way, to get on this podcast, you can't pay your way in. Like he has to personally invite you. And I get a message one day saying, "Hey, Andy loves you, what you stand for, and he wants to fly you out to St. Louis. Can you make it happen?" I'm like, holy shit, let's go. And I went. We went, nice dinner the night before. Next day, it's 7 a.m., wake up, go to the podcast, crush it, and then fly back to Montreal. And it was episode 68. It's actually episode 69, but they messed up in the numbers. So it's episode 68 in the MFCEO if you look for it. And it's about how to grow an account. But Andy always had a huge audience and a very loyal one. He has a huge one now still, much bigger. But it was big back then. So when I said it put me on, like I always put myself on, right? So I don't think I owe it to anyone. But Andy put me on in a way that he gave me so much credibility that even to date, people say, hey, I just listened to your podcast on the MFCO. Because Andy, to me, is one of the only legitimate personal brands in the world on social media.
Why one of the only legitimate? Can you kind of explain that?
Because whatever he puts out is not fake. It's not bullshit. Whatever he talks, he does, you know? He's actually building multiple $100 million companies. He's actually doing his 75 hard workout every day, twice a day, reading a book, this and that. He actually does. Like, we say practice what you preach. He's one of the only people who actually does it. And that's fact. You know? He's not full of shit. He's not for everyone. It's very hard. You look at him, you might be scared a little bit, intimidated at first, and we've had that conversation with him. But he's real. And that's all that matters to me.
There's another person that you used to do shout outs for back in 2015 that I wanted to ask you about, and that's GaryVee. And I'm curious, so at the time, he would have had 30K on Instagram. So like, what was your opinion of him at that point in time before he was the person he is today that we all see as this massive influencer on social media, on top of being a businessman? But what was your opinions back then?
He's the first like celebrity entrepreneur, you know? My opinion of him, I don't know. I mean, I met Alex De Simone back then, March 2015. He's like, hey, I'm represent this guy, GaryVee. Back then, go figure. The quotes didn't even have his face on it. That's how long ago it was. And he's like, you know, we'll pay you to post on your network of accounts. I just treated him like any client. I just posted him, you know. It's and then I grew a relationship with him. I met him in 2017 at his offices. I grew a relationship with the client, his company, his people. They're amazing people. Loved them all. And yeah, it's just I always saw him as someone really inspirational. And then as he started growing, I could relate to him. I was never, it's not like a fan thing. I really like related to him. Like the things he was saying, we always had like this similar vision, you know? Like I was like, damn, like what he's talking about is literally what I was just telling my friend like over lunch, you know? Not that I'm not comparing myself, by the way. He's still on another level. So please don't see it like that. But like I really can relate to him on a mental, like, you know, perspective.
And you mentioned that you ended up flying out to have a meeting with him. It's supposed to be 15 minutes. It went for an hour. And eventually during that meeting, he offered you a job. You turned it down, but I'm curious if there was ever a part of you that thought about taking that job.
That's crazy that you know that, because I never posted about it. That's pretty wild. No, never, because I'm not like that. But here's what happened. My friend Elliot back then, who was doing all the growth for Gary, right? And he's like, you want to meet Gary? I'm like, hell yeah, I love Gary. Are you kidding me? I'll fly to New York for him anytime. So I was coming back from Italy. I was in Montreal, 1 hour flight. I went to meet him, and after 15 minutes, like, hey, can you just stay here for the hour? I'm like, of course. I literally came to New York for you. I'll spend the day here. And because he was interested in my network of accounts, you know, and interesting. He's always into like who's like in the game, he wants to have the best around him, right? So back then I was really good with growth hacking and getting a lot of engagement on Instagram. And so then he said, he told me word for word, I have the interview. I never posted it. I have the whole footage. And then he's like, you need to figure out a way that you can work here for 6 months. And at first I didn't say no. I was like, okay, I'll think about it. I'll see. And then just, you know, I was in a position where I was leaving school. I was leaving Italy, and I just had to do me. Because I already, mind you, most people listening to this will be like, oh, you're crazy, you should have done it. But I already had 10 million followers, Jacob. I might have not had a big personal brand, but it's not what I wanted to do, you know? And I was scared that by going and doing that, I was just not going to achieve my personal goals. That's all. Nothing against anyone. It's all love and respect.
No, 100%. I know, as far as I'm aware, you still have a good relationship with Gary and his team. Like you were on tea with GaryVee at the beginning of quarantine. Like, so it's not like there's bad blood or anything there at all either.
No, never. They're my best friends. I love them. We talk all the time.
And so I'm curious if there's anybody else that you would have worked with back early on that people would recognize now. Like you worked with Andy and Gary when they were really just kind of starting out to grow their brands. Like you said, Andy had a bit of a bigger one at the time. But like, is there anyone else you worked with that people would recognize today?
I've done shout outs for every entrepreneur you can imagine. I've done shout outs for Ty Lopez. I've done shout outs for I mean, I've sold ads to everyone, bro. And the thing is, I don't want people to think I'm responsible for their growth or their success. I am not. I was just a kid with a lot of followers, so they had no choice but to pay me. You know, it's just, and I've done a lot of brands like Movement watches. Just recently sold to Movado for $100 million. I've been doing ads with them since they're on Indiegogo. A lot of brands like that.
Wow. And so I have a quote in here that you kind of put a high priority on sales during that time. Was that just to kind of grow the business and scale it out? Like, was there ever more people on the team, or was it just you for the longest time? I know recently you started up an agency, but
I was always a one-man team, and I would always hire depending on the job that needs to be done. But I did it all. I still do most of the time. Like I mostly do it all. I was always with the one-man team. I would do the sales because nobody can pitch you better than yourself. And also, I have a knowledge in the game that most people don't. So it's really hard for me to even teach someone how to speak the language. Just now I was late here because I had to run to a meeting because I needed to be the one talking about the company. Because people buy into Farokh, they don't necessarily buy into the whole, they need to understand how it works. They need to see me. So I would do the sales, I would do the posting, I would do the hiring, I would do this and that. I would do everything.
There's something I want to talk about. I listened to a couple different interviews you've done, and no one's ever asked you about this. So I'm curious to know what your experience building the app Rendezvous, if you kind of explain what that is and how it worked.
That's hilarious. Wow. I got approached by my friends that were building a dating app, and they're like, well, do you want this amount of, whatever shares, and you do this and that? I was like, okay. So it was my first touch into the building an app. And then, no, the experience was fun, man. We grew the app. We had 10,000 people in the first week on the app, but then we never really pushed through. I guess we were all busy with our own things, and we just stopped, No bad blood, nothing. It was fun, though.
And to get those 10,000 users, was that just kind of pushing it through your network, or how did you grow?
Yeah. I always had a lot of love pages on Instagram, so I was just pushing out my love pages all the time.
And I'm curious then, are you doing anything with e-commerce, or do you have your own products you're selling right now? Because you have the built-in distribution.
I've done a lot of e-com. I've opened maybe 50 different stores, trying everything from like kitchen stuff to house stuff to this and that. I've done a lot of e-com for people. I've opened stores for influencers. I've done that, but it's not my forte. So currently I'm not doing it, but I'm working on developing products for my own pages. Yes, full blown. Like for Goodlife, for Couple Feelings. Yes, e-com is huge. It's bigger than ever right now. It's going to grow, but I want to build brands. I'm not interested in just, drop shipping something from China. It always bored me.
Mm-hmm. Why does it bore you? Why do you think you want to build a legitimate brand over doing drop shipping? Because there's good money in drop.
I want to build something. There is, but I'm a builder, bro. I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm not good at. And I don't overstep. I have some friends that make millions in e-com drop shipping. That's good for them. I'm happy for them. I'm here to learn from them. I'm the type of guy, there's no ego. I know what I'm good at. And then I'm going to hire a full-time team to do Facebook ads, this and that, and that's it. I'm going to start my own products for Goodlife because I see the bigger picture. What are you going to sell? Your e-com store, you think you're going to sell it for a couple $1 million? You can't. But what if I had a whole line of products for my page, branded? That's what you sell. I'm into building a company long-term here. I'm always into a 10-year plan.
How important has self-awareness been on your journey? Because hearing you talk, you're very self-aware. So I'm curious how big a factor that's played in your career so far.
The most important thing, I think, because I think self-awareness is very important, and you must always learn to protect yourself and your mental health. And every single podcast I go on, I repeat it. Mental health is so important that we never talk about it. And especially for entrepreneurs, young men as well. And it's just like, you don't have to be selfish. I tell people, care about yourself a little bit. Be self-aware. What are you going to do? If I'm not healthy, how am I going to get my employees paid? How am I going to show love to my friends? How am I going to take care of you? How am I going to hop on a podcast? What? If I'm not healthy, I have to be a certain level of self-aware in order to be successful. If I want to give to the people, and I try to give as much as I can, I'm always giving, even to my followers on social media. But if I don't take care of myself at the end of the day, I can't take care of you. So self-awareness to me is an extremely important notion.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that. I love that answer. And another quote I have written down here would have been in a podcast or a video or something that I saw. You said, I failed multiple times. And why is we've already talked about kind of why losing is important, but do you think failure is a necessary part of the process in building businesses, or is it a part you can avoid? I've heard both sides, that people think you can avoid failing, you don't need to fail, but I've heard other people say that you have to fail because it teaches you important lessons. So I'm curious where you fall on that. Is failure necessary when
No,
growing
it's
a
not
business?
necessary. And I don't know where I said that, but even I would retract my statement today to say I never really failed at anything, because I always went into things that I was good at and it worked. And if it didn't work, I just shut it down and I learned. So I never really failed. I don't believe in the whole mentality of, oh, go fail, spend your money, go broke. No, going back to mental health, that'll fuck you up. I'm not into that. I'm not into the whole startup mentality. Go put your money, put your effort, put your time, stop going to the gym, stop talking to your friends, work 365 days, don't sleep. Nah, bro, I'm not into that at all. It's such a turnoff. Honestly, I hate it. I don't believe in it.
Balance is so important.
Balance is so important. And I'm so happy, and I feel like I'm in a position today where I'm a very balanced human being. And it took me a lot of years to understand that, meaning I understand the balance of things when I need to shut down, when I need to push harder, when I need to give more, when I need to take more, when I need to give less. It's balance is very, very important.
Mm-hmm. How do you get to a point then where you're comfortable with balance? Because that's even something I find I'm not very good at. I feel like when I'm trying to take that balance and take some time just to breathe and relax, like I feel like I'm falling behind. So like, how do you get to that point?
Again, going back to control. So I believe that success really starts when you're in control of your mind, of your thoughts, of your words, and of your actions. Thought, words, actions. So what's important is once you control what's inside of you, and you control what you say and do, and you control your actions and everything, you will find balance. Because but being control, you will know that if I'm taking a break for a day, I'm burnt out. I'm in control of what's going on in my business, in my family, in my friendships, and I don't need to worry about it. I know that tomorrow it's still gonna be there. I'm gonna take care of it. Balance is hard to find. It took me 26 years. but but I feel like I'm balanced now because I can, but I'm not always balanced because I know but you gotta relax sometimes. Like, yeah, taking this time off will make you fall behind, but maybe it'll be good for your mental health. So are you losing? No, because you're actually winning somewhere else. Look, you can never win everywhere, bro. But that doesn't mean that you're losing either.
True. I think that's an important distinction because I feel like a lot of people think if they're not winning, they're losing, but there is a middle ground.
Ooh, it's not true. There's small wins. That's why there's small wins and there's big wins. Picture a graph. Sometimes the graph goes woo all the way up, skyrockets, sick. Sometimes it just goes up slowly. So what? Me right now, the last 3 months, I've been building a physical media company here. I'm building slowly. But there was some days where I was building, boom, it skyrocketed. But I know that what I'm building right now slowly, in 6 months, I'm off to the moon. So it's just like, you gotta learn. You gotta learn to go easy sometimes. Take it easy on yourself a little bit.
Yeah. And I do want to talk about that media company that you're building right now. But before we get there, I'm curious what you did that resulted in you getting blocked by 50 Cent.
Bro, I don't fucking know. I swear to God, I have no idea when my personal page is blocked on 50 Cent, and I love 50. It's maybe a bug. I don't know. At 50 Cent, I'm blocked on his page. I don't know why. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Was that what were you blocked on? Was it Instagram that you were blocked on?
Yeah, blocked on my personal on Instagram. Sucks.
That's weird.
Yeah.
And one thing we haven't talked about either yet, we haven't talked about Facebook, but at one point you had a page called Viral Trends that was getting over 1 billion views a month. It was one of the top 2, I believe, most viewed pages in the world.
Yeah, it was part of a company I was at with my friends. I was part of another media company that I'm not part of anymore. And we were just doing a bunch of stuff from e-com to Facebook, a lot of Facebook pages. And there was 1 month, it was like March 2018, or I don't know, we were the second most viewed page on the planet.
That's
insane.
Like
1.6 billion views in 1 month. It was sick.
Is Facebook, so that was a few years ago, I believe. So in your opinion, is Facebook dead or is there still opportunity there?
There's still people making money out there. Facebook is good for Facebook ads.
True. What about organically?
Nah, tough. Yeah, I haven't tried it in a while. I couldn't speak for it, but I don't think so.
But you're all in on Instagram now. You're married to the gram, right?
Always been. Day one, never cheated on her.
You've gotten rid of most of your pages now, right? Like you've focused a little bit more on Goodlife and your personal account now?
Yeah. I got rid of a lot of my pages. Some of them got disabled. Some of them I got rid of. And I'm really, really focused on my network of accounts in the bigger picture right now. Yeah. And my personal page more than anything. That's like my my focus.
And I've heard people say that like engagement as a whole is kind of declining on Instagram. So I'm curious if that's something you've noticed on Goodlife, that just as a whole across the platform, that engagement is
I disagree
decreasing.
with that. That's just another excuse. My engagement's been up. I don't know what they're talking about. My personal page gets 5%, sometimes 8% reach. I reach like 50% of my followers, and my Goodlife is blowing up like never before. I've never had more organic growth and engagement than now. It's just because they don't know what they're doing. You got to post good content. You got to be consistent, engage with your community. There's a lot of pages out there now. Just do better than them, But the whole like engagement decrease, I don't believe in it.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. So with Goodlife then, with the Goodlife page, how many times are you posting a day now? I kind of went through it. I'm looking like 3 to 4 times a day right now.
Yeah, 4 times a day, scaling to 10.
Scaling to 10. Wow. Why the more than double of volume?
Because I just want to be posting. I don't care about likes. I don't care if I go from 30,000 likes a post to 20,000 likes a post. I want 10 posts a day. I want to be posting all day long. That's it. I want to be in front of as many eyes as possible.
And so like with not caring too much about likes, do you focus much on analytics and kind of let that dictate what you do, or not at all?
Yeah, well, of course I look at analytics like, okay, like these cars don't work. This type of post doesn't work. Posting at that time doesn't work, right? But you want to be pumping out content, bro. In the media game, you just got to post. Look at Complex. Look at WorldStar. They're posting like 60 times a day. You think they're looking at their post likes? No, but they're looking at their analytics in terms of how many people they're reaching, right? So that's all that matters at the end of the day is how many people you're reaching.
You don't post as many quote graphics anymore, right? Is that wave kind of come and gone, do you think?
Yeah, it's kind of like past. A lot of tweets for fun and near them, but yeah, not many quotes, no.
And how do you determine what to post? Like, are you going out, are you finding all the content and just reposting it? Are you still doing edits and stuff? Like, how do you figure out what you should be posting?
We edit. We work with a lot of photographers, amazing photographers who let us post their content. We credit them. I got a team posting, I thank God I don't do it myself. I got people full-time answering DMs, commenting back, and pumping out content. Yeah, they just know. They just have the eye for it.
And I've heard you quoted saying how Instagram's a hub for content, which I didn't click in with me that it is, but it totally is. That's where people share their TikToks, their tweets. But that's something you don't do a ton of. Like, you don't share a lot of tweets on Goodlife or TikToks. Are you just kind of making sure that it looks organic to Instagram, or how come you don't share other content from other platforms?
Because it's not the niche. It's not the niche, bro. I share my personal. My personal is full of my personal tweets.
No, I was just genuinely curious about that. And back to the point how you said that you've experienced the most growth now and Instagram's not dying, engagement's still there. You grew a quarantine theme page from 0 to 138,000 followers.
213.
213 now?
Yeah. Well, now it lost followers, but we went 0 to 200K in 13 days.
In 13, that's crazy. And so, like, why did you decide to do that? Was it just kind of had some extra time in quarantine and wanted to prove that you could still grow?
I'm in Miami. COVID hit, so I have to go back to Canada. I'm with my best friend, Aram. Shout out to Aram, crushing the ecom game. And I'm with my best friend. We're having a couple of drinks. And we're like, everyone's busy trying to sell products and rip people off. And we don't want to do that. We're like integral people. I like to say that I'm integral. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's start a meme page. Call it Quarantine 2020. I'll blow it up because of my strategies. You just post the memes. And that's it. We were at the dinner table. We made the page. Next day, we have 10,000 followers. Fucking 13 days later, we had 200,000 followers. We documented everything on video. Everything's on video. It was amazing. We just came up with it. It was hilarious. And the page today has 170K, so it lost followers, but it still gets like 20,000 likes. So when you tell me about engagement, I'm like, bro, my 100K meme page gets 15,000 likes. What's your excuse, And I'm not doing anything on it. Like, I'm not doing some wizardry. We just post.
That's wild. It's like, how do you, so just like, obviously without giving away the secrets, but like, what are some strategies you need to grow, and especially that quickly for people that are just starting out or want to grow their Instagram?
Post good content, have a clear strategy, determine what your pillars are, your voice, and then go full stop, full force, go. Engage with people, put yourself out there, comment on people's pages, DM people. If you have money, pay some people for growth, pay the right pages to shout you out. Just be everywhere.
When you say know what your pillars are, do you mean like know what type of content you should be posting?
Yeah. You have to know, or else you're all over the place. People will understand you.
And another example of how you've grown this year, your personal Instagram. I believe in January, you decided to focus heavily on your personal brand and your personal account. You went from around 100K to today where you're at 242,000 followers. So just another proof that growth is still possible on Instagram. The engagement is still there. And so why did you decide to focus on your personal brand this year?
Because I was tired of focusing on other people's personal brands. I was at 108K. I didn't grow for a year. And I'm like, why am I growing all these? I grew some clients, like 500,000 followers in 3 months. And I'm like, why am I not doing it for myself? I said, I want 250K followers. So I did it in 4 months. I lost 10,000 followers. I had 252K. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, but I'm the only person who will tell you that and not give a shit. I lost another 500 today. Why? Because I don't have time to cater to my page again. I'm too busy on my clients and my business, which is fine. But the day I want to push the throttle, I know I'll push myself to 500,000 if I want to. But, I was like, why don't I have that? Plus, I rose my engagement from 1,000 likes average to 10,000. Like my last photo of me got 14,000 likes. And I get 500 comments per post. I get a bunch of story views. And I just did it for myself to prove that I can do it, that I still got it. It was like I wanted to show people like Farokh still got it. It was kind of like it was for me, for the people. As like, hey, I can do it. And I did it for free.
Mm-hmm. And I couldn't have you on here without asking about the commenting. So can you kind of break down your comment strategy right now? Because you're the CEO of commenting on Instagram.
Yes, sir. So, this is how I grew myself. I figure, some big meme pages follow me. I'm like, what? And by the way, I'm not the first to have done it. I have not invented it, but I did it a long couple years ago, like 3 years ago, from Goodlife. I gained 100,000 followers a month. And I was like, why do I want to do it for my personal? And I put the trick is that you turn post notifications on pages that relate to your brand and that have a big following. And then you're always the first to comment with something witty, whether it's value, whether it's funny, whether it's controversial. You just comment something and then it can pop, It does help that I'm verified, right? It does help that the pages follow me, but I've seen people succeed after I started doing it, publicizing it. I see a lot of success from people getting a lot of traffic. So the trick to get top comment is really be quick with it. Like, you have to be quick. You have to be within the first couple of minutes, and you have to have a good comment. It can't be like, oh, fire. Oh, emoji. Bring something to the table. Do something cool.
One thing I've noticed too about your content is you're just very genuine. You're not like one of those like Instagram gurus who like run ads that are say basically like follow me and I'll like help you grow to like 1 million followers or anything like that. Like you're just genuine. You're giving practical advice. And how important do you think that is to connecting with your audience?
It's the most important. They know. You were asking about GaryVee. What I like about GaryVee, he doesn't sell shit. Maybe a book here and there. But what I think is important is my personal brand is all about, it's my contribution to the world. Put it this way. I've impacted a lot of people, and I know that because I get DMs every single day. Even I had a really relevant comment on my birthday post the other side. Someone said, hey, I can't say that you changed my life, but I can say that you're the reason why I'm inspired today. This is all I try to do. Some people I changed their lives. Some people I just impacted a tiny little bit. Maybe I got them up every morning to do something good for themselves. But that's the difference between me and someone else. I'm not trying to sell you somewhere. I did a masterclass for fun. I sold it, and then I stopped doing it because I didn't feel like it. And then I'm just here to deliver value. I'm just me, people ask me, well, who's that guy? What does he do? Like, I'm just this like entrepreneur trying to make an impact and try to make some money. And that's it. And I guess people can relate to me because it's hard to relate always to the Andy Frisellas, to the GaryVees, right? Because they're a little older than us, right? They're very successful. You should look up to them. But I'm 26 and I'm just doing it up. And I'm showing every step of my journey, all of it.
What about, I'm curious, do you have any plans? I mean, I know you're really busy right now, but is there ever a plan to explore other social media platforms and kind of go all in there? I think it was on Buster's podcast where you said if you could have 1 million followers anywhere, you'd pick YouTube. So is YouTube something that's on the horizon? Or
I'm about to launch it. We have an intro video being in the works right now as you speak. My editor is in the room next door to me editing the video.
That's amazing. What kind of content can we expect to see on the YouTube channel?
Lifestyle. Again, no plan. I'm not even giving promises how often. No plan. Just Farokh. That's it. I think I'm a cool guy. I think I'm funny enough to entertain people. I think my life is freaking awesome. And I love my life. I would never switch it with anyone. And I just want people to immerse themselves with me. One day we'll go golfing. One day we'll go working. One day we do this. We race cars. We have fun with my clients. We do podcasts. We do this. That's all it is. That's it. And I already did TikTok. I grew myself to 75,000 followers in a month on TikTok. And I got verified and everything.
A lot of people, when it comes to posting content, a lot of people overthink the content that they put out. How do you kind of overcome that? How do you just start posting content and just going?
Stop worrying about what your mommy and daddy are going to think, and stop worrying about your friends. Stop worrying about your coworkers. Nobody cares about them. Just post. Just be yourself. Stop looking at the amount of likes too. God damn it! People look at that. Oh my god! No, just post. Some of my posts they have 2,000 likes. Some of them 5,000. Some of them 15,000. I don't care. I just post. It's my page. I do what I want, and people need to understand that. You know, you gotta stop. You gotta break that barrier. 90% of growth on social media. 90% of the growth is the barrier that you have in your head. 10% is the work that you put in.
I love that. I really like that it's your page. You can do what you want. And I feel like
It's
a lot
your
of people
life.
try to pander to their audience.
It's your life. Who else is Farokh? I'm Farokh. What, you're going to go take my phone and post for me? No, you're not.
No, I love that. And talk to me a little bit more now about the agency you've recently started, the media company you're working on. I believe you started with like your neighbor or something like that, right?
Yeah, it's such a funny story. We're May like 25th ish, like we're mid quarantine, right? We're like 3 months into quarantine, whatever. I'm outside my house. I'm just having coffee, blasting music in my backyard. And then there's like I see like a family picnicking and stuff. And then I go back inside and hear, yo, bro. And I'm like, who the hell is screaming at me from outside my backyard? I turn back and this lady, lovely woman, Sonia. And she's like, turn the music up. I'm like, okay. You know, I love kids. So I just turn the music up and they're just dancing. I go back and I do my life. Come back in 10 minutes later. They're literally at my fence, dancing, whatever, throwing a party. And then I'm dancing too. I'm just jamming with them across the fence, whatever. And then my mom comes and I'm like, Mom, look at these people. They're dancing. She goes, oh my God, this is her, blah, blah. And I have no idea who the fuck that is. And then I go on Instagram and they're just on my story, like request. And I see a bunch of people tagging me. So they clearly recognize me. So we go back. My mom goes out, hey, hi. Yeah. And then the content creator, Amir, he's like, yeah, I know you. And then her stepson also said, hey, you're Goodlife. So it's funny. One of them recognized me because I'm Goodlife. The other one because I'm Farokh, which is hilarious. And I'm like, damn, I got to change addresses now. And then, and then she's like, hey, why don't you come to my office? I have this whole office space here. It was a co-working space. It's shut down during COVID. So I had to refund everyone. I have 9,000 square foot to myself. I came back and I'm like, wow. I'm like, we're stuck here during COVID. I can't travel anymore because I've been traveling all over the place for the last 3 years within the United States. And I'm like, might as well just build an agency here. My media company that I've been doing for 3 years remote. Why don't I just do it here? So we found a way to partner up together, you know, sort of a joint venture. I'm like, you know, you have the content and media creation team, which, you know, content is king, right? But hey, distribution is queen and I'm distribution. And we're like, let's just partner up and build something. And now right outside my door, we're like 15, 16 people, just growing like crazy. And it's just us. We're one big family. We call it the tribe. And we all have nothing but love for each other. And we're killing it. You know, my partner, Sonia, she's crushing it. She's already built a business to $10 million. She's already scaled companies. She's a little older than me. She has that experience in business strategy. And me, I have the whole social media strategy. And she's a life coach as well, a real one, by the way, not a guru. She's an actual coach, like certified and accredited coach, right? And that's what I liked about her, you know. So it's just like it just happened, bro. I don't even know how to explain it to you. It just happened. It's unexplainable.
Mm-hmm. And so talk to me about some of the learnings then since May of running this company. Like beforehand, as far as I could tell, you didn't have a lot of overhead. You mentioned really like you kind of like to be in control. You don't delegate too often. It's like, how has it been adjusting to you doing all of this now?
Super weird. I had actually the whole first month, I couldn't perform at a peak performance because I was scared to delegate because I'm very scared. And one day I sat down and like, hey, it's time to delegate. So now I understood, like, you know, I don't like bossing people around. But then I had to understand it's not called being a boss. It's called being a good leader. It's called being a good businessman, you know? So I learned how to delegate and it's awesome, bro. I like it. And I still don't have a lot of overhead. The overhead I have is the people that I need. You need a drone pilot. You need a photographer. You need a videographer. You need someone to assist you. You need someone to, you know what I mean? You need a website person. So even then, it's like, it's still not maximal overhead. It's minimum.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I've heard you say with your clients is you don't do growth for clients, you do community building. Can you explain the difference between those two?
Growth is, I'll grow your page. Yeah, if you want me to grow your page, I'll put you in a couple giveaways. I'll buy $10,000 worth of shout outs. I'll give you 50,000 followers by the end of the month, right? Cool. Then what? You're selling a product. They don't even care about you. They don't even know you. When people come to me they come to me to build an engaged audience that cares for you. I build personal brands here. I don't build a page. I can. but by all means, if my client asks me just to grow, if you have the money for it, you want to pay to play, let's go, let's play. But if you want to build an engaged audience that cares for you, we take a step back. We go through business strategy. We understand who you are, your content strategy, your pillars. How are we going to, try show that through content, and then your social media and distribution strategy, and then grow you a community that cares for you. I want people to care for Farokh. I don't want people to care for whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's very important. There's a big difference between growth and community building. And by all means, if you want growth, I do growth. But community building is really what gets to me. Like, I really dig it.
I just wanted to ask that because I think that's an important thing for people listening to hear, that there's a difference between just growing and building a community. And at the end of the day, when you're like, to your point, when growing a business, if you grow and no one cares about you, at the end of the day, you're not achieving your business objectives. And so how many hours then are you putting in a day now between running Goodlife, or building your own personal brand, running this agency? Like, how many hours? Like, what's your schedule look like?
I don't know, man. I just wake up and I go to sleep. I mean, I don't have a schedule. Like, I don't really like to have a schedule either. Yes, I do plan my stuff. Let's say we have this podcast, we have a meeting, this and that. But it's like I never know what the day's going to be like, really. Like, I have an idea of it. I know at 11 to 1 every Friday I have to consult someone. I know every Monday I have this meeting, this and that. But it's like I have plans, I have goals, and then I delegate a lot of the work now. And I know, and and I'm on top of it all day long. I'm always on top of my work. I hate when you say I work all day long, because it's not really, it doesn't really feel like work. I'm having so much fun. I'm like playing,
Mm-hmm. So kind of with that in mind, then how important is it to build a business around your passions?
It's the most important, or else you're going to go straight into a depression and a burnout. If you don't do what you love, you're not going to love your life. It depends on your goals. Again, not everyone's meant to be an entrepreneur, bro. But at least if you're going to go into a job that you like.
Looking back on everything, looking all the way back to being 18, 19, using a broken iPhone 5, switching between 10 different accounts, posting 60 times a day. Do you ever take a moment to reflect on how far you've come over these last 6-7 years?
Not really. I only just started doing that recently. Like, at first I was like, yeah, whatever. It's because to me it's normal. So that's why sometimes, like, it may have sounded arrogant earlier when I said, yeah, 1 million followers, nothing today, but it's not. I didn't mean it like that. It's just like, I have a phone right now next to me. I'm holding it. 7 million followers on it. It's just like, I don't realize these things sometimes. And I had to have people come into my life to say, yo, bro, like, do you realize what you've done? I'm like, no, I don't. I don't feel successful yet. However, and I wrote that on my 26th birthday post. My birthday was Monday. And I'm like, you know what? I feel like I'm finally exactly where I need to be. And I'm happy. And I had a conversation with my mentor a couple months ago. I was like, bro, I'm 25. I'm 26 now, but I was 25 at the time. Like, I'm not happy. I don't have my personal goals achieved yet. And he's like, bro, take a step back and chill. As a matter of fact, even Andy Frisella, who I consider one of my mentors, he was like, do you realize where you are at 25? He's like, I'm 44 or something. He's like, I wasn't there at 25. And he really opened my eyes. So yes, the answer could be yes. No, not always, but yes, more recently.
First off, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
No worries. Secondly, you've been doing this for a long time, especially on Instagram, the last about 6 years or so. And in that time, a lot of influencers have come and gone. What is it about Farokh that has let you stay around this whole time and even be growing now 6 years later?
I care. I'm relevant because I care, and I don't burn bridges. I'm not here to scam people. I'm not here to sell air, smoke, and mirrors. I'm here to help, inspire, and then grow. And I'm constantly growing. So a lot of people come and go. A lot of agencies, a lot of pages are irrelevant today. Most people, like, they're in for a year, they're gone. They're the tough shit for 2 years, they're gone. I've been around for 6 years, and I'm going to be around for another 50 years. I'm not going anywhere because I'm true to myself, and people like to see that. I'm authentic. I'm genuine. I'm just doing me. So it's not like I'm going to go the day I die. You feel me? Like, I'm always going to be around as long as I'm alive because I literally do me.
What is the good life?
The good life is, it's a mindset. It's a way of thinking. I go by the saying, it's an ancient Persian Zoroastrian saying. It goes, good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. That's where the whole control your thoughts, words, and actions comes from. But good thoughts, good words, good deeds. It's being you. It's doing yourself. It's a whole journey. It's a whole process. It's not a destination. You don't just achieve the good life. I'm living the good life. I'm not a billionaire yet, but I'm living it. The good life is just being healthy, happy, relatively successful at what you do, and being able to impact
Do you think the people around you are part of the good life?
Yes, everybody around me is part of the good life.
And you're as far as I know, you're a big believer in supporting and cheering on your friends. And I'm curious as to why that's important.
It's the most important. I think that part of being a good person is being a great person, not good. I want to be great. Is being able to elevate people around you, because I want to see my whole team winning. I love when everybody around me wins. I'm only surrounded with winners, Jacob. I don't have anything else around me. I don't allow it. And people come and go, but the people who stick around, they know to believe in me, because they know that by being around me, they're gonna win. But I know that me being around them, I'm also going to win. It's mutual, bro. So I'm not a hero, you know. But I know that I bring something to the table, that I might have a powerful energy that some may not have, and I just want to be able to, help people unlock their inner legend, because everybody is a legend, but some people just don't realize it.
I love that. But I'm curious what's coming up for you, man. What do you got next?
Fuck do I know, man. I just want to build my company here. We're crushing it with meetings, clients. We're doing very good. Knock on wood, very happy, very grateful and blessed. And I just want to keep growing this business I have here. And at the same time, I just want to grow Farokh. I was telling my partner the other day, like, people ask me what you are. Like, I even changed the bio to my Instagram yesterday to CEO of everything. And people take themselves so seriously on social media. I just do my thing. I have multiple streams of income. I'm a hustler. One of my friends called me a hitman. I'm the social media hitman. I do things, I get things done for my clients. And I just want to do my thing. I'm even taking a trading course right now because I want to learn how to trade, because I can. And I just want to, I want to invest my money. I want to build my company. I'm building a whole new media company when it comes to distribution. And I'm just doing a lot, I'm a real entrepreneur, bro. And that's why I can't tell you what I'm going to be doing 5 to 10 years. But the big picture is that I just want to keep going the way I'm going. And I want to keep growing as a person. I want to stay healthy, and I want to just stay wealthy.
I'm happy to hear that you're saying you're going to get into trading, because something I forgot to ask you about, but being a trader was something that you wanted to do early on, right?
Yeah. I was raised around that, the financial world and stuff like that. So it was always a dream of mine, and I love trading. I love it. I love it so much. But again, I have money to trade. People are like, why are you not trading? Because I'm not in control. So what I'm going to do, I'm like everybody else. I'm going to pay for a course, and I'm going to learn. I'm going to pay, and until I understand, I'm not going to put my money anywhere.
I love that. Before I let you go, I ask everyone the same standard set of questions. I used to call this rapid fire, but then people told me these aren't really rapid fire questions. So then I started calling it the Q&A, but then I realized this is a podcast and the whole thing is a Q&A, so that made no sense. So I don't really have a name for this section. But the first question is, you're going to dinner. You can take 3 people. It can be anybody, dead or alive. Who do you take to dinner?
Kanye West, 100%. Kanye West, love him. Another person, I'd like to go with LeBron as well. Take him a dinner, sure. And who else? I don't know. It would be interesting sitting across from Elon, just to try to understand his brain.
Absolutely. That'd be an interesting dinner.
But I'm not one of these people that have idols and stuff. I swear to God, it's weird. Like Buster, my friend, he asked me a similar question. It's like, who do you go out with? I don't know. I'm really inspired from within by myself. I'm my biggest fan, because not in an arrogant way. It's just, I just want to, because I know I have something in me. I got it, and I want to keep developing it.
What's some of the best advice you've ever been given?
There's one, and I say that on every single podcast, every interview since 5 years, and I will continue to say it from the next 20 years, 50 years, as long as I'm alive. My mentor, when I started on Instagram, he's the one who really got me. Like he had a bunch of pages, let me use them in order to make my money so I could acquire them from him, right? And he told me, because at one point I kept getting upset, like, oh, this person is lowballing me. So I'd be like, fuck you, you're an asshole, you want to lowball me, you don't know my worth. And he said, Farokh, be the person everybody wants to work with. And to date, this is the best fucking one-liner I've ever heard in my life. Be the person everybody wants to work with. That doesn't mean don't know your worth. That doesn't mean don't know who you are. You must be self-aware and understand who you are. But be someone that everyone wants to work with, meaning do not burn bridges, because you don't know where one may lead you in the future. And also understand how to do business. By being that person, everybody will want to come to you first. You will be a magnet of success. And another one of my mentors said something very important to me is you're successful by the people you say no to. And wow, did I start saying no after that. You got to know your worth. It's very important. You don't have to say yes to everything. You don't have to go to a burnout. Assess things. Don't be scared to say no to people. I've literally ripped up $1 million contracts before because it was just not for me. But then something else came to me. It's very important.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a lesson I'm learning. I recently started doing my own company, and that's a lesson I have had to learn over these first couple months.
It's very important.
100%. Next question. What advice do you think that Farokh from 15 years in the future would tell you now? Like if Farokh in 15 years came back in time to speak with you right now, what advice would he give you?
Do exactly what you're doing. Keep going. I'm on the right path, bro. I'm telling you. I realized it big time. I got everybody, even my closest friends, like Manu from Trufan and Buster and all these people, they're messaging me like, bro, whatever you're doing, it looks like you're doing the right thing. They don't need to understand. People don't need to know what you're doing or understand to feel your energy. I'm so protective of my energy more than ever. And I'm only giving it to the people that I want to uplift and that I believe deserve it. And I'm just careful. Like, I'm just going. I'm just going. I know I'm doing the right thing. That's all I know. So in 15 years, Farokh will come back to 26-year-old Farokh and be like, yo, keep going.
What is one thing about you people wouldn't expect?
Even though I may come off as like all over the place sometimes and joking and having fun, I'm extremely focused. I'm extremely organized and meticulous. Like I do not allow space for little mistakes. I don't take it. I think even in the office space, we have a saying, say, you're better than this. You forgot a Zoom link in the invite, you're better than this. You know, little things. We're very picky and you know, little things and big things. And it's just, I'm very focused and organized. And that's what people sometimes don't see because, yeah, I'm the cool guy. I like sneakers, this, that. I like to be all out there on social media, CEO of everything. But I'm actually a very, very down-to-earth person. And I'm extremely loving.
What is one thing that's so important everybody needs to know?
So important, everything. You're worth it. You are worth it. And most people don't know that. Most people think that they're not worth it. People think they're worthless. People think that they're not. You're better than this as well. Actually, going back to that, most people don't know that. I shake people up sometimes. I have my friends. I grab them and I shake. I say, "Yo, you're better than this. What is this? What are you doing with your life? Wake up!" And they're like, "Damn." It's just not everybody is inspired, you know. And sometimes you gotta shake them up. So if you're listening to this, just know you're better than whatever you're doing right now, and you're worth it. Don't let anybody make you think or make you feel like you're not worth it.
I love that. And for the final question, I like to flip the script a little bit. So instead of me asking the question, it's you asking the question, but it's not to me. So pretend you have this crystal ball and you can ask this crystal ball any question. You'll get the 100% honest answer. What is one question you want to know the answer to?
Shit, that's a good one. I've never thought about it because I don't try to find these things out, bro. Honestly, I just live day by day. It's super weird, but I mean, I would ask, am I going to make it? But I know I'm going to because I'm going to put my mind to it. But if I had to ask one crystal ball question is, am I and my family and my friends going to be good for the rest of our lives?
Mm-hmm. I like that question.
But then again, if the crystal ball says yes, I'm going to get lazy, right? So
true. Yeah. I love when people approach this question with thinking of the implications of what happens when they find out the answer. I always think that's cool. But I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be on this podcast. I appreciate you. I want to give you the floor. Where can the people find you? Plug anything and everything you got right now.
Follow me on Instagram, really on Farokh, Farokh, and stay tuned for the YouTube. It's going to drop so soon, but really follow me on IG. I reply to every single comment under every single post, and I dare you to find another influencer and does that.
100%. I want to thank you once again for taking time to be on this podcast. I want to thank everybody for listening. Whether you've listened the entire way through, you only listen to bits and pieces, I really appreciate you taking the time to check this out. Everybody do me a massive favor. Go and follow Farokh on Instagram. I'll make sure everything's linked in the show notes down below. Leave a comment. He will reply like he said. And if you'd like to follow me, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @JacobKelly. Feel free to come and say hello. My DMs are always open. If you'd like to follow the podcast, you can find us on Instagram at My Social Life Podcast or YouTube by searching up My Social Life. Thank you once again for listening, everybody. As always, today's podcast is powered by Trufan. We'll talk soon.